Hello there YouTube, my name is Chuggy and today I am playing some Battlefield 3, playing Conquest on Tehran Highway and Rush on Operation Firestorm. Today guys, it is question time part 35. Yet again you guys have submitted some fantastic questions from what I think of tyres to world peace, and today guys I'll be giving my God honest answers to your great questions. If you've never seen this series before, it is literally that, question and answer, all set to some, in this case, Battlefield 3 gameplays. To briefly mention the gameplays, you'll see me playing some Conquest here on Tehran Highway and then some Rush on Operation Firestorm. The two gameplays were pretty neat. I sat down on Sunday and I just played some Battlefield, and I got two pretty good games out of it. Now this one here on Tehran Highway, I come into the game and we are down 30-40 tickets and it's a tri-cap. You know, it's one of those situations where you just got to go and suck it up and do what you can do, and it just clicked. You know, I was just able to get out there, do some work, and a pretty good game was had of it, a very close game at points as well. And the game of Rush on Operation Firestorm, well, you see me in a jet at one point, and good lord, I don't fly into the floor. Playing some engineer, playing some defense, and yeah, pretty cool game there with some pretty neat kills, and I'm pretty sure I got pretty lucky with the jet action at the end. But anyway, I digress. Let me talk about the questions first of all. If you have a question you'd like me to answer next time, all you have to do is pop it down in the comments section below. Just as these guys who I'll be answering their questions of have done last time. And it can literally be anything from politics to life to gaming. I will answer anything within reason, and well, as you'll hear today, I've got quite a variety of questions. So with that, let me get on to the first question this week, and it comes from Sneaky Dragon 22, and they say that my tagline is confidence creates skill. Do I think it can also be proved the other way round, i.e. skill creates confidence? It's an interesting question, you know. Confidence creates skill is my motto, and I've had it for a little while. I first kind of coined that phrase back when I was playing Burnout Paradise, back when I was, you know, up there with the world's best on that game, and it does seem to fit, if you get my meaning. You know, it's one of those things where if you're confident in your ability, you just do, and doing often it allows you, and you know, not thinking about whatever's going on around you, it just allows you to get on with the job, and it then kind of clarifies your mind. You then can concentrate on what you're doing well, what you're doing badly, and you know, everything just kind of clicks together like that. So I definitely think you could say it the other way around as well. You know, if you're skillful, you'll be confident. That creates, you know, more skill, whatever else. It's well, at least I thought it was a pretty nice turn of phrase. I think it does the job quite nicely, and yeah, it's something I try and live by, you know. It's just one of those things where you kind of look at it and go, well, it's words. At the end of the day, it is just words, but it's something to inspire. I don't know. I'm really going quite on a tangent already, and it's only the first question. Oh dear. Sneaky Dragon, thank you very much for the question. Yes, as long as you're confident in your ability, you'll do just fine, and that's true of anything. So, Sneaky Dragon, thank you very much for your question. Next, two questions comes from Trey Kuriba, and they ask, can I dunk a basketball, and what's my favourite soft drink? The answer is yes, I can. I'm tall enough, thankfully, and my favourite soft drink can't beat a nice lemonade, a Sprite or something like that. It's pretty much actually the only soft drink I'll drink. I don't drink cola or anything like that. I normally drink water. I'm quite a boring old person anyway. So Trey, thank you very much for your questions there. The next question comes from Stigstorm147, and they ask, what are my opinions on the current handheld console market, and what do I think the future holds for it? And have I ever owned a handheld console, and what do I think of them? Well, you want to know something? The handheld, I should say, gaming console market, it's an interesting one, because you'll talk to various people, and you know, if you say handheld gaming console, they'll go, those stupid old things, but then they'll quite happily play Angry Birds on their iPhone or something. I think that the market has a lot of potential in it, putting it frankly, an awful lot. And I think it's just that the hardware that we'd normally associate with it is changing. So whereas you used to have, say, a Game Boy or a, well, PSP or whatever else, or a Nintendo 3DS, whatever the case may be, you know, they were just dedicated gaming machines. All they did was play games. Whereas you got your phones and things like that, and you know, all they used to do was be a phone. But all of a sudden they've become very versatile, you know, smart. You know, you can sort out your email, go on the internet, and you can play games on them. And people go, oh, well, this is quite convenient. they're just as much of gamers as, people who buy, say, a PS Vita or a 3DS, whatever the case might be. And people buy the games, people make the games, and all in all, people play more games. So it's I see a lot of potential and a lot of cool games coming out. Angry Birds for one, enabled by touchscreen and all the rest. And well, look at the franchise that is today. I have I have owned handheld gaming consoles in the past. My first games console, proper, was a Game Boy, one of the big old fat grey bricks, and I still have that to this day. And I must admit, I don't have any of the current handheld consoles. That is purely because, or handheld devices, because I don't play handheld games much. I do play games from time to time on my phone, but I don't use it exclusively just for games. I tend to use it as a phone, amazingly enough. So I see it with a lot of potential, but I perhaps would qualify that a bit by saying that perhaps not as we know it. So it's an interesting question. I see potential, but I think people are going to be willing to change. Or at least their perspective, anyway. So Stigstorm, great question. Thank you very much for it. Yeah, great question there. Next question comes from Vordays, and they ask, I'm not a Sebastian Vettel fan by any stretch of the imagination, but what's my opinion about the British fans cheering his retirement at Silverstone? Seems a bit disrespectful for someone who's failing. First of all, I completely agree. It wasn't particularly sporting, but I'll also be totally honest, I was cheering at home when I saw that happen. There's a saying, you either live long enough to see yourself be the hero or die a villain, or no, hang on, I've got that the wrong way around. You either die soon enough a hero or you live just long enough to be a villain. I've butchered that saying, but you want to know something? That's exactly what poor old Sebastian Vettel has to deal with now. Arguably, he has had it pretty easy. He's had one of the best cars out in the field, and he's won 3 championships, drivers' championships back-to-back, deservedly so. But that doesn't gain you any kind of kudos anymore. If you just win everything, and in particular in the style that he has, by driving away from the field, people don't tend to like that. They want to see a challenge, they want to see the driver work for the win. And that arguably is something that Sebastian has done a few times, but not very often. So I can totally understand why people boo him, because, it's deemed that he has it easier than other drivers. Not true at all. It is one of those things where he has had a very good car, he's been in the right place at the right time, and, well, lo and behold, he's been able to win races and championships. I think the reason people did boo is, they don't like an easy win. And the reason they were obviously happy that he did retire is, well, he didn't get an easy win, and it brought the race back to life again. So I can understand the booing. It's not sporting, but as a fan of racing, I was booing quite along with it. So yeah, not particularly sporting, but I'll be brutally honest, I was one of the ones cheering. So Vordays, thank you very much. Great question there. Next question comes from Infinity HD, and it's also echoed by Arsenal 2022. They both ask, do I have sort of any insight or thoughts on who will replace or take Mark Webber's spot at Red Bull Racing? And Infinity HD sort of goes on to say, do I have any fears for Ricciardo or Verne in them potentially replacing that seat in Formula 1? Well, the Mark Webber situation is interesting, because I've heard that deal has been signed since before Christmas. So it's been known in the inner circles that this was happening for a little while now. I do think that the driver, I don't know how perhaps to how to phrase it, but I do think the driver will be from the Red Bull family, as it were, let's say, from Toro Rosso or in the Red Bull driver program. And I must admit, out of the 2 drivers at the minute, I'm definitely backing Ricciardo. He's definitely impressing in race form as of late. And yeah, he's just been doing the right things. He's been announcing himself just at the right time. Having said that, I think there could be a bit of a curveball with this. Jenson Button's been linked with that seat, which I find very interesting. To me, it's almost like a kind of sideways move, especially since Honda are coming back into Formula 1 with McLaren. I would have thought he might stick around, but yeah, I do hope that both, well, if it is going to be either Ricciardo or Verne, I hope that they are able to bed down into the Red Bull main team and get on with the work, and I'm sure they'll drive the wheels off that car, and it'll be interesting to see how they compare to Sebastian in the same equipment, because I'm willing to bet there wouldn't be much difference, and as a matter of fact, I bet you could put, say, Charles Peake or someone from, Marusha's Caterhams, whatever, and they'll do equally early as well in Red Bull. You know, the car is a pretty important factor these days in the racing. So yeah, great question, Infinity Arsenal. Thank you very much for those. And actually, just as I read this here, Infinity has an additional question, so apologies there. What's my favourite beverage? Oh, you can't beat a good beer. It's a nice, kind of simple answer. In particular, a nice beer draft or something. I'm a fan of lager. Some people kind of look at me and go, ugh. But, you know, a nice Belgian lager on draft, oh, nothing better than that. So, Infinity, thank you very much for your question there. Also, Arsenal 2022. Next question comes from Ryan Bailey, and this is a question I am kind of really pleased that someone's asked. They ask, or say that, I mentioned in a previous question time that I did a year in industry as part of my degree. They're looking to do a degree in chemical engineering. First of all, kudos, that's not an easy subject to get into, or at least I was crap at chemistry, so it will scare the crap out of me. Would I say that it would be better to go to a less well-known university with a year in industry, or a better-known university without a year in industry? What do I think will work out better? It's a good question, and basically it's all dependent on, do you want to get a job immediately? I think is the real crux of the issue here. I definitely say that if you want to get a job immediately after you finish university, you must do a year in industry. Only reason is that, honestly, the amount of value you get from going and doing a year of work, you can then look at university and go, right, what do I need to do to get the most out of this final year and get myself employed at the end? As it happened when I did my year in industry, I was then immediately offered a contract as a full-time employee based off the work I'd done, so that helps as well, obviously. But yeah, I definitely would recommend it. I mean, the thing is, though, that say you've got a choice between, say, Oxford or Cambridge and, you know, less, I don't know, famous, well-known university here in the UK. If you wanted to go internationally, people have heard of Oxford or Cambridge or, say, Harvard or anything like that. You know, that is a known name. But, you know, one of these lesser universities, it's not so well known. By the way, I didn't go to one of the, you know, Oxford or Cambridge or anything. I went to a red brick. So yeah, I definitely would recommend the year in industry. Excuse me. I definitely would recommend the year in industry. I found it really useful. And yeah, you know, you earn a bit of money, you realise what you do know, you realise what you don't know, and yeah, I just felt it was a very worthwhile experience. So I hope that helps you, Ryan. Thank you very much for that superb question there. Next question comes from HKA96, and they ask, did I have any experience in programming before I did my computer science degree? No, I did not. I tried to self-teach myself C++, sorry, from a book, and I did it. I did learn, you know, basic syntax and all this kind of stuff, but learning from a book and just copying verbatim and trying to understand stuff from a book is all well and good, but actually learning, you know, kind of the core mechanics, the bits and bolts, then writing from that, as I did when I did a CS degree, that was much more useful. So basically, fundamentally, no, I had no real prior knowledge. You know, if you'd sat me down, said, write this program in this language, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Now, yeah, I'll be able to kind of spot the syntax, write the language, and hopefully get it working. So, yeah, no is the short answer there, HKA. It's not a barrier. It's certainly something very useful, definitely, if you go to try and apply to a university, previous programming experience. But it's not the end of the world if you don't. So I hope that helps you there. Great question. Thank you very much. Next question comes from Dr. BCD PS3, and they ask, have I played The Last of Us single player, and if so, what's my opinion on it? Yeah, I have finished it, and I have completed it. Hang on, I just said I've finished it. I have played it, and I have finished it. Yeah, it's a great game. Do not get me wrong, it is one of the best games I've ever played. Is it the best game I've ever played? No. I definitely think I overhyped myself, let's say. I was expecting literal perfection, given the reviews and everything which were out there. It's definitely not perfection. It has its fair share of flaws, I'll be totally honest. For instance, the one thing which really grinded my gears, as it were, was the AI. It was bloody terrible in points. And although it was nervous or scary at points, I never really truly was terrified. You know, it was just a case of, oh, logistically, I could shoot this guy, but then, you know, I can see that there's someone over here, and that means I'm going to have to shoot this thing. You know, it wasn't, you know, a challenge or anything like that. It was just more of the logistics of the situation made things difficult. It's still a great game, and the story was very good. and I'll get on to a few points about the story in a moment, because there's another question about The Last of Us. So yeah, it's a good game. I definitely would recommend it, but it's not the perfect game, let's say. So Dr. PC DPS3, thank you very much for that. Now, the next question is very much a hot topic, and it's being asked by Joe Mould, Mr. Brian 86, and Stuart the Gooner. And they ask about the tyre situation in Formula 1 at Silverstone a few weeks ago. For those of you who don't know, cars are racing around quite merrily as they do, and tyres were exploding left, right and centre. Well, actually no, just the back left. And basically, as it turns out, the teams were very concerned that these tyres were exploding as the cars and the drivers were driving around and racing. And there's been a bit of a shitstorm, putting it frankly, going around the sport because of it. And basically the questions are, what did I think? Do I think? What should be done about the situation? Well, first of all, I feel really sorry for Pirelli, because at the end of the day, this is what they were asked to do. They were asked to make tyres which would wear relatively quickly and give us interesting racing. You can't deny that the race was interesting, perhaps not for all the right reasons, but it was interesting, I think, anyway. As it turns out, the teams were running not only the tyres under very, very low pressures, well underneath what Pirelli recommended, but also backwards. I mean, that's the classic thing about Formula 1, though. If it gives you a tenth of a second, you'll do it, Yeah, we'll put the tyres on backwards, it makes the car go quicker. Crazy. Anyway, so yeah, I do feel sorry for Pirelli, because the teams were, not helping the situation. But I definitely think that the tyres, compared to last year, I think they're a bit of a backward step. So I think the most sensible thing to do with the tyres is to go back to last year's specification, and that's what Pirelli are doing from Hungary, the next race. So yeah, I think it is a tricky situation for Pirelli. I do feel sorry for them, because I don't think it was completely their fault, and I'm glad that they're taking action. And yeah, the tyre situation, never good, very dangerous. Yeah, we're lucky that someone wasn't more seriously hurt. So guys, thank you very much for your question there. Interesting times ahead in the world of tyres and Formula 1, I'm sure. So yeah, there we go. Next question comes from Jar Joques, and I hope I've said that right. They ask, who is my favourite male or female actor and why? Good question, and you want to know something? Off the top of my head, nothing really comes to mind. There are certainly actors who I've looked at their performance and I've gone, wow, that is something special. Like, I mean, for instance, a bit cliche perhaps, but you look at the performance of Daniel Craig in Skyfall as James Bond. You can, I don't know, it's just the way that he acted. Wow, the way he did his job, it was really good. It just completely sold the kind of, you can see it very early on in the film, perhaps spoilers, very early on in the film, you kind of see, the darkness, the sort of questions, the doubt, the fear, and as it goes on, you can see the confidence come back and all this kind of thing. And just the way he portrayed the character really sold it for me, and that's a massive talent. I used to do quite a bit of drama at secondary school, but nowhere near anything like that. So I think I'd have to say Daniel Craig. He's quite the actor, and he's not just been, a one-trick pony of James Bond. He's done a lot of other good films and stuff in the past as well. So yeah, I think that's an answer right there. Jar Joques, thank you very much for your question there. Next question is the second part of the question that Arsenal 2022 I should say, asked. And they asked, did I like playing Kingdom Hearts on the PS2 and will I be buying Kingdom Hearts 3? Afraid to say, I've never played Kingdom Hearts. I've got friends who are quite, I wouldn't say militant, but they they would live and die for that game. And when 3 was announced at E3, they went ballistic. So I might give it a look. I don't know. I'll be totally honest. It's not kind of my style of game. But no, I've never played it, so I can't really say anything. Will I be playing Kingdom Hearts 3? If there's a demo, I'll probably give it a go. So Arsenal, thank you very much for your question there, your second one there. Next question comes from Psychofish, and they ask, when I was in school or university, what category of people did I fit into? I.e., jocks, nerds, and who are my most memorable friends? Well, I definitely was a nerd. In fact, during secondary school, I was a librarian. Yeah, I hung around the library doing all the checking in and out of books and kicking kids off computers because they were playing games. Yeah, that was kind of sick, twisted. I did enjoy the Schadenfreude, I'll be totally honest there. But yeah, I was definitely a nerd. With pride, I'd like to add, actually. I very much, I enjoyed what I did. Yeah, I think that pretty much was true for university, although admittedly, I was not as big of a nerd as some people were, so, who were my most memorable friends? Well, you see, that's very tricky, because I had actually quite a big group of friends, and we all got on really well. I think, really, I couldn't really single anyone out, you know. Everyone could just bounce off one another, and you could trust everyone. There was like a group of 12 of us in sixth form college, just before we went to university. And honestly, we were a good group, and we always had a laugh. You know, if we were doing some work in the common room or something in a free sort of period between lessons, you know, we'd have a laugh, we'd get the work done, we'd help each other. Just good times, you know, really good memories. So yeah, I was a nerd, and my friends were pretty cool, and I couldn't single anyone out. So, Psychofish, thank you very much for your question there. Next question comes from Zach Smither, and they ask, what would I buy out of a Nikon 1, an air rifle, an iPod 5, and do fanboys annoy me? Well, he said piss me off, but I will say annoy me. So really, I think out of those three things, let's say you want all three equally and you don't have a need for any one of those. I personally would go for the iPod. Reason being that it's a bit more versatile than the other things. You know, a camera is a camera, you can get artsy, you can get fartsy, you can take pictures. An air rifle's cool, you can shoot things, of course you've got to be safe with this and have all the paperwork and whatnot. But the thing with an iPod is that, well, as I've kind of said previously actually, it's a very versatile thing, you know. You can do your email, you can do surfing the web, you can play games, you can play music obviously as well. It's a pretty versatile piece of kit. So I'd say out of those three, an iPod. Do fanboys annoy me? Yes and no. I think it's awesome that, for instance, I've had people follow me around in games and trying to help me out and whatnot. It's something I did not at all expect when I started this whole YouTube thing. Yeah, I really don't mind, to be honest, people follow me around or being fanboys, whatever else. And to be honest, I really don't mind people, you know, being militant in their opinion either. You know, you say you've got your PlayStation fanboys, your Xbox fanboys. I think it's really, you know, good to see that people are that dedicated to a cause. That, you know, that they will go and, well, to sometimes some pretty extreme lengths to kind of back up or reinforce their opinion with others. Of course, you've got to be sensible with it. You know, you don't want to go around, you know, egging people's houses or anything daft like that. But yeah, they don't always annoy me. Of course, if one disagrees with me, I may be a little riled, but that is just the point of debate, and that's where you start to have a good discussion about things. But anyway, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps those questions up from Zach. Thank you very much for them. iPod for me, and no, it's good to have a bit of difference in the world, I guess. So thank you very much for those questions there. Next question comes from Blown Tyre, and they ask, what car do I drive in real life, and what is my average upload and download speed for my internet connection? So I drive a 2005 Ford Fiesta Z-Tech Climate. Oh yes, it's a, a very run-of-the-mill car. Very run-of-the-mill car over here in the UK. It's a 1.2. I really think if it had a 1.4, it'd be amazing, just a bit more grunt. But no, it's a great little car. Love her to death. I've named it Felicia, and that's where the touring car name came from as well, by the way. There's a real Felicia as well, and I love driving that car. Superb. I mean, the chassis, you'll turn it into a corner and it just sticks and goes. It's awesome. So yeah, that's my car. As for my upload and download speed, fibre optic broadband is amazing. Not to sort of rub it in or anything like that, but my average download is 15 megabits a second, so 120 megabits download, and I upload at 10 megabits, so 1 megabyte a second. So yeah, pretty quick, and that is what the speed of light will do for you, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, in the UK we're terrible. We've got really old copper pipe infrastructure. You know, be lucky if you get 1 or 2 megabytes. So if you have the opportunity to get fibre, seriously do it. It is well worth the money, and yeah, I think I'll say that. So Blown Tyre, thank you very much for your great questions there. Next question comes from The Soul, and this is the question I wanted to save regarding The Last of Us and my thoughts on the whole kind of experience. The Soul's question is, what would I say out of the would I say that The Last of Us is superior to Bioshock Infinite in the storytelling aspect? There we go. Got the question out without completely ruining the lovely English language. It's a really good question. I'll be totally honest and be upfront about this. I think out of the two, in terms of story and storytelling, I think Bioshock Infinite is a better game. Not to say that Last of Us is bad, far from it. It is a superb title, as I've just mentioned, literally. But the story for me, although it was involved, it was complex, it never really got me sucked in. It never really got my attention, almost. The ending and the whole ending sequence I thought was very good, very clever. And it's basically the whole thing with The Last of Us is there's a lot of sort of almost symmetry with the infected and the story of Joel and Ellie and their relationship and how everything winds up. Both very much being, both the saviors and the killers of the human race. Bioshock Infinite just had something a bit extra for me, I think, The story sucked me in straight away, and the ending and the whole story there was just, well, it blew my mind, but I loved it. It's just completely, hit me for 6. So personally, I'd have to say Bioshock Infinite is superior, and I'm sure that's going to, go make a few people surprised, but that's just my personal opinion on that one, guys. Not to say that Bioshock Infinite or Last of Us is, one's worse or one's better. I'd say they're both amazing games. Get them both and make your own mind up. That's my personal decision, and yeah, 2 amazing games. Am I complaining? No, 2 amazing games to play. Awesome. So the Soul, thank you very much for your great question there. Next couple of questions comes from Sebastian Erb, and they ask, do I prefer the Xbox One or the PS4? Which one will I get? I prefer the PS4, and I'll be getting that as a result. I personally think that Sony knocked E3 and the announce of the new console out of the park, so kudos, they've got my money. Battlefield 4 or COD Ghosts? Battlefield 4, that's an easy one. How do I deal with depression? That's a really good question, So depression is a tricky subject. We all will unfortunately get depressed at one point or another. Something will just bum us out. And it's just one of those things. You've got to learn to deal with it. Now, that can be quite a cold response, It can be, just deal with it. But, life is here to test us at times. You've got to look at a situation and go, well, this is pretty shitty. But as long as you can take something away from it, learn something about yourself, learn something about the situation, how to avoid it, how to do something different, whatever the case might be, I see depression as a good thing. So basically, look for the positives in things. It's not easy to do at the time, but if you look at a situation, what's bad about it, and how you can improve, you're going to come out of that situation a lot better. At least that's my view on it, anyway. And the final 2 questions are, do I play FIFA? Yes, I do, and badly. And have I ever smoked? No, I have not, and I don't plan on starting anytime soon. So Sebastian, thank you very much for your questions there. Next question comes from Raven, the Let's Player, and they ask, do I think in this infinitely complex world that we can ever live in world peace, or will it ever be possible? You want to know something? Not to be a pessimist, given that very optimistic answer a second ago, but I don't think it will be possible, unfortunately. The world, as you've said quite correctly, is a very complex place. There'll be ulterior motives, what's in it for me's, and all this kind of stuff going on. And I do think, unfortunately, it's going to be one of these situations where, unless there is only one person left on this earth, there will never be true agreement or true parity or true peace. Which raises the question, what is peace? What is obtainable? What is the point? And this is where I really think that Hideo Kojima and the Metal Gear Solid games really knock the whole situation out of the park. It's amazing to sort of see how in those games you have this concept of true peace, peace through constant war, and control to peace. And I do think, unfortunately, those are the only real methods you could ever use, see to actually achieve what we would call peace. The thing with people is there will always be disagreements. Alright, you may disagree what is a nice, I don't know, colour for a wall, or you may disagree on where the border lies. It's all, relative with these things. And obviously the response you'll have to that discussion and that disagreement. But in order for a large populace of people, all with slightly differing views and all the rest, I really don't see a kind of everyone is happy and enjoying things state ever being there. And Raven goes on to say it's their ambition to reach a level of politics where they can help try and sort out the problems. Sir, you go for it. I admire that attitude a lot. Not to be truly pessimistic and say it will never happen, but I'm pretty sure I heard a statistic along the lines of since the Second World War there's only ever been 20 minutes of peace. Yeah, I think that says a lot in terms of, officially sanctioned wars and all the rest. It's unfortunate, but that is our human nature, unfortunately, and that is something we have to live with, so that is the way it goes. So, a very, sad answer, I don't know, to round that one off. Raven, superb question, thank you very much for it. I would love to see world peace, unfortunately I don't think it will ever happen. And I just have enough time here for one more question. It will come from AC10XXZ. And they ask, what's up with the Muslim view on women? Well, I'll be totally honest, I'm not a Muslim. I've never read the Quran or anything like that, so I won't pretend that I have and I know the ins and outs. But what I will say is that, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing in the Quran to sort of say that women are second-class citizens or anything like that. For instance, the I'm going to get this wrong, not the burqa, but the face mask. It's not a face mask, but the veil that you see a lot of Muslim women wearing. As far as I'm aware, that's not required or anything from the Muslim faith. That's just something which the culture has put in place. I find it very odd, to be honest, I do. Perhaps, I haven't read the Quran or any of that, so I don't know the ins and outs of the religion. But I do find it strange. In this day and age, everyone is equal, and I think that should extend to religion as well. I can understand that obviously there's a lot gone on in the past, and you must respect the past to know the future, but I do find it odd nonetheless. So, AC, thank you very much for your superb question there. That will round out this week's question time. Guys, thank you so very much for your superb questions there. I hope that you enjoyed my responses to those. And again, if there's anything you'd like me to answer next question time, all you have to do is pop it down in the comment section below. If you could leave a like, dislike, whatever you believe this video deserves, that'd be fantastic. And if you want to see more videos from myself, all you have to do is subscribe. So guys, I've been Chuggy, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, out on the battlefield.